Hey everybody, we're back. Got a little different video today. I'm going to, not something I normally do here on this channel. So we're not going to work on the E46. We're not going to work on the Z3. We're not working on the Wife's Camry or the F-150. What I've got to do, something I've needed to do for a long time. And then we're not working on the F-100. That's my son's F-100 also. So anyway, something I've got to do. Years ago I built this fence here, this wood fence. So I used steel pipe and then wood. But something I never finished over here, as you can see, going into my backyard, is my gate area. So I've got a gate. It's supposed to go here in between the house. I'll turn this around and show you. So as you can see, I never finished this gate. I wanted this big gate right here. I live on a corner, so I wanted to, the way my yard's set up, I wanted to leave this area here open. I used to have a boat, car hauler, all that kind of stuff, so I always used to be able to back it up here into the yard, you know, and keep it out of the way, but I never finished this gate. So I got to build a big gate for that. These two posts right here in between are just going to be just fence, just like that fence is over there. And then this area here is going to be a gate. So that's what I'm going to work on today. Hopefully I can get this all done in one video. Just due to the recent health crisis in the US, I've found myself with some time off from work. I haven't lost my job, hopefully, not yet, but pardon me. Anyway, getting really bored. I've got a few things to do on the cars, but I'm just going to try and knock this out today and just take you guys along. So you'll see how I finish this little main gate here. So I went to Home Depot yesterday and I picked up this stuff here. So I've got a couple of hinges, a latch to latch the gate. I'm going to use this plate right here to bolt to the side of the house into the bricks for this latch to go through like that. So it's going to go through that, and then I've got some Hilti concrete anchors so I can drill into the mortar. And then here I've got these posts. So first thing I'm going to do is mock up this side, the hinge side here that's going to go here. So the gate's going to swing from this side in. But I'm going to clean up the rust where I'm going to be welding on these posts. And then also, sorry, I've got all my stuff laid out here to get to work. And then I'm going to clean, you know, the edges of this that I'm going to weld on. I'm going to use the grinder and clean all that powder coat or paint or whatever that is off there so that I can weld this all up. So I'll get started on that. Next thing I'm going to do is from the top of this, I'm going to make the center of my top hinge 12 inches, and then I'm also going to do that on the bottom. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to mark 12 inches. That's going to be the center of my hinge. So I'll mark that with, just draw a line across there with the speed square. Sorry, this is hard to do with. So there's my square on 12 inches. So I'm going to draw a line there. All right, so there's our, it's going to be the center of our hinge. So I'm going to take my tape measure down. I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom, measuring 12 inches from the bottom up. All right, here's what's going on. I apologize for the dogs in the background. So that center hole, that hinge is, as you can see, that's the mark that I made. You can see it through there. So it's at 12 inches. So I've got the hinges set. I've got the bottom one set 12 inches from the top, from the bottom. Now, this isn't scientific. As you can see, I'm measuring off of grass, so that 12 inches, you know, is relative. So I've got the hinges clamped. I'm not gonna weld these. I'm gonna try not to weld these because I'm gonna be using a MIG welder, so I want to do the final welding of the gate in the garage. And another thing, the reason I'm not just measuring this out and then building a gate and then putting the gate in is because the ground is not level. So I'm gonna just kind of piece this together one piece at a time. It'll make sense. I've done this kind of thing before. It'll make sense as we go. But I want to build it exactly to this opening. So the best way to do that for me is to build it in the opening, and then we'll do all the final welding inside. So, and then the other thing here, I've got this 2x4. There goes my camera mount. I've got this 2x4 laid down here. So in America, you know, it's called a 2-inch by 4-inch board, but anybody that's ever messed with these knows that it's actually 3.5 by 1.5. So it's not an actual 2x4. So with that being said, I'm gonna use that to space my, whenever I put this side piece in here, this is gonna be so I'm gonna set my piece of steel on that. And then that way, from this end to that end, the gate will be 1.5 inches off of the concrete here for this sidewalk that leads to the backyard. So that's why I'm doing that. So now that I've got everything set up, I'm gonna get my tape measure here. Hopefully this won't go too bad. I'm trying to do this with camera in one hand and tape measure in the other, but I've already measured this, but I'm just going to show you guys. I didn't plan this, but so I want my gate, I don't want it to go all the way to the top of that post, but so I'm going to make it 69 inches. So that's with the tape measure sitting on that board, 1.5 inches off the concrete, 1.5 inches off of the concrete, and then so there, that's going to put the top of the gate about 1/2 inch below that cap. So 69 inches. So we're going to cut our first pieces 2-inch by 2-inch steel, 69 inches. I've got my hinges in my first piece that I just cut 69 inches. So the hinge side, long side of the gate. So I've got everything clamped in place. Got my gap, everything looking like I want it. So, and then here's the board resting down there. So now what I'm gonna do is come in and I'm going to weld here. I'll probably just tack it pretty good. So yeah, and then next step is we'll cut the piece for this side, and then we'll build our crossbars for the top and bottom, and then there's going to be one in the middle as well. So I'll get these tacked up now. Well, here I am. I haven't used that welder in a while, so when I went to go tack those hinges, discovered that my bottle was empty. So that would explain last time I used it, it was kind of petering out there at the end, and it's been a while. So anyway, got the bottle there in the Z3 trunk. So I'm gonna go, I live in a little town that's not much around as far as welding supply. So I'm gonna have to run into the next biggest town, which is Denton. It's about 10-15 miles away. So we're headed there to the welding shop. Back from the welding supply, my bottle was out of cert, so I had to buy this bottle. They're gonna recertify my bottle and then exchange me the price of this bottle. So this is just temporary to keep us going. So it's a smaller bottle, it was cheap, but hopefully it'll be enough. It should be enough to get done what I need to get done. And anyway, so yeah, I'll get back to, I'll get this hooked up and then I'll tack those hinges to the upright. So I've got everything tacked, the hinges tacked to the first upright, and my welder was giving me some fits there, but I think I got it figured out. The nozzle, something was clogging up the treble of the wire. But anyway, here's what we got, and then I've got the board moved out of the way. So here's how the gate is gonna open, just like that. So we've got a functioning hinge. I've been doing some thinking here as I'm building this, and I'm gonna go from the bottom. I'm gonna go across the bottom first, from this hinge side to over here. I've already got the upright cut for that. I don't have it cut to length, but so what I'm gonna do here is tack this piece in place, and I've got my speed square on here. So something I wanna do is keep it very, this edge here parallel to that edge there on the hinge side. So I've got this all set up, and I'm fixing to get this tacked up. Here's what I've got. So I've got the end piece here. Let me scoot back. So I've got the bottom, I've got the hinge side, I've got the bottom, and I've got this piece here on the other side. So now I'm gonna do the span across here, and then I'm gonna do another one in the middle. And so that's what's going on. But anyway, let me step back here. All right, so I just got to do that cross piece and then a piece through the middle, and then I'll be ready to take it off the clamps and finish welding it in the garage. So here it is, all finished, well, tacked up. I'm gonna do a piece in the middle, and yeah, so I've got a few more tacks to make, and then I'm gonna take it apart, or undo the clamps over there on that side, and take it off and lay it on the floor in the garage and weld it all up in there. So that'll be the next thing that you see. Okay, so I've got the 2x4 from underneath it. I've still got the clamps on for the hinges. I'm going to finish welding the whole thing, but I wanted to function test it and show you guys just how this thing's going to open. So that's the closed position there, and then there it is right there, and it'll swing way back past the sidewalk. I don't know. It'll swing back past the sidewalk so you can get these big trees. It'll swing back past the sidewalk on this end, so I can get those big trash cans in and out of here no problem, or furniture or anything else we need to move. So now I'm gonna take these hinges, or take these clamps loose off the hinges, and move it into the garage, lay it on the floor, and weld it flat like that, so I can be out of the wind, and it doesn't affect my argon, the travel of the gas for the weld. So that's the next step. So it is the next day. I finished welding this up last night in the garage, and ground down some of the welds and whatnot. So cut this top piece to where it's even with the other one. So I'm going to Home Depot. I got to buy some wood for the slats, and pick up a couple of little things, bolts, nuts, that kind of stuff, to get everything bolted together. So it's kind of windy, sorry about that. But anyway, headed to Home Depot, so I'll be back soon and we'll get to working on this again. Well, I'm back from Home Depot. Sorry, my neighbor over there is mowing his yard. I got this, I got a bunch of stuff, but next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut these into 5-inch. This is 2-inch 3/16 just bar stock. I'm going to cut these into 5-inch strips, and that's going to be for, as you can see here how I've got it. So that's going to be these. I'm going to make some more of these. These are a little bit wider. I think these are 3-inch, but for the gate, I don't really need that big of a piece. So that's what I'm going to do now, is cut all these up and get these ready. So I just got a call from work. I'm gonna have to go down to Houston. I live north of Dallas, Texas. I got to go down to Houston, Texas over the weekend for work to work on something. But anyway, so I'm probably not gonna be able to finish this up for a few days, but it'll all be in one video. It won't matter to you. But anyway, so here's the next process. The holes for the crossbars that are gonna hold the sideboards or the runners, I've got them all marked up here. I'm going to center punch this and drag the drill press out and drill these holes. So that'll be the next step. Okay, I just got back from Houston late last night. I had to go there for work for 4 days. So I got back to work on the gate, and here's what I got done today. It was super windy. I hope it's not showing up windy now on the camera, but it was super windy, and I couldn't get much done in the way of welding because I'm using a gas welder. I'm gonna step out here. So across here, back in this area, I had a tarp across here, but I don't know if it helped much. But anyway, I've got, step through here, I've got my runners plates tacked on there for the runners for the wood pieces. I got my latch plate bolted in, I got my latch tacked on, and of course I got my hinges welded up. So I also spent a lot of time today with the wire brush. I'm going to go back on this other side. Spent a lot of time today with the wire brush and on the drill, and getting a lot of surface rust off. Some of this pipe is old. I say old, I bought it new, but it's been sitting back behind my shed on a rack for a couple years. So anyway, that's what's going on now. Hopefully I can paint it tomorrow. I'm going to, or I already did, I washed it with some soapy water and rinsed it down to get all the dust off from the rust that I buffed off with the wire wheel. And hopefully tomorrow, if it doesn't rain tonight or there's not much dew in the morning, I can get this thing painted. And if it's not windy, finish up some of the welding and start getting it completed. So that's it for now. We'll see you in the snap of a finger. So it's the next morning. As you can see behind me, hopefully, I couldn't resist last night. I came out, and after I washed this all off, I got to thinking about it. I was like, there's been a lot of dew in the morning here, so I didn't want to any little rust to show up. I'm gonna get over here on the porch out of the sun. So anyway, I did painted it, and there's some little touch-ups in some areas, but for the most part, the portion that I've got that I'm working on here is finished. So I'm going to turn this around and show you what the next step is going to be. So as you can see, I've got the these pieces welded in here for the cross for the runners, but I've got to weld pieces here and here on this post so that, like this portion that's already finished over here, something like this I've got to weld in like I did on the gate part to put these runners in so I can get the boards put up. So that's going to be the next step. So here's where we're at. I've got these pieces welded on here for the runners, and got everything painted. So I'm going to wait a little while and let the paint dry. I've also got the caps put on, got those welded on, and yeah, so that's it. And I did all the finish welding on the gate, so we'll let that paint dry, and then we'll start putting some wood on this thing, and it'll start looking like a gate. All right, I've got the runners mounted now, so all my runners are bolted up through the holes that we drilled. Let me go over here to this one. So you can see there, go around to the other side. And so I just use bumper, what I call bumper bolts. They've got the square shoulder on them, so you put them through the hole and you tap them with a hammer and kind of lock them into the wood, and then I just use my little impact to tighten them down. And they're stainless bolts, and then I use stainless, let's go around here to the other side, stainless lock nuts. And then I'll come back with a grinder and a cutoff wheel, and I'll shorten these up so they're not sticking out like that. So, car going by. So yeah, there we go. So you see my got my pickets up there, and I've got my line up here to follow, and I'll start putting pickets up. These are the screws that I'm using. There we go. So they're a Torx head. They're actually deck screws, but that's what I used on the whole rest of this fence. They work really good. So since it's a Torx, you're less likely to strip it out if it was a Phillips. So those are the screws I'm going to be using, and we'll start putting up pickets. All right, I've got most of the pickets on the non-gate side up, but since I am setting these in between the poles, I don't know if you can see that distance there, try to get it like that. So what you wind up with is when you get to the middle, so I go off, I put a board up on each end and then go to the middle. And then, so what you wind up with is in the middle here, in order to keep this in between, you always come up with a short board. And I don't put it on the end. I think it blends in more in the middle, and that's what I did on this other fence. And as you can see, you can't really tell where the short board is. I mean, there you can. It's this one here. It's a little bit narrower, but anyway, so that's the situation I'm at right now. So something else I wanted to talk about at this point is, initially I had my string wrapped around the post, but it's been a while since I did this, and I forgot how I did it last time. What I needed to do was get my two end boards set, and then I put a screw in the top of the board, and that's what I tied my string around. And that's really important, especially in this situation, because there's going to be a downhill slant, just a slight one, just because the ground's unlevel here. And as you can see by the bottom of the gate, that's not level. So anyway, that's what's going on now. I'm going to measure this opening here, which I already did. It's like 5 inches. So these pickets are 5.5. So I'm going to have to take a 1/2 inch off. I'm just going to rip it long ways with a skill saw. So I'll do that, and then we'll be right back. All right, it's done, and all the pickets are in. So yeah. It's a few days worth of work, but I mean, it's just my design. Something else I'm probably going to add is right up here in between this little viewing port. Probably going to add some, spindles, like wrought iron looking. But yeah, so I still got to trim these bolts here, and I used a thinner board on the gate instead of like the 2x4, just so this wouldn't be so heavy. So the screws are a little bit long, but I'm just gonna lop those off really quick. So still got to take that off of there, the tape. But yeah, so that's it. And That is the gate opening. And like I said, I'm going to build another gate here, a big gate, so I can get, if I ever get another car hauler or utility trailer or that sort of thing, that's gonna go. Anyway, I used to have a car hauler and all that, so I would be able to back it into the yard right there. So I want to leave that open, or as a gate. So that is the next plan. I don't know if I'll video that or not. This was pain enough to video, this little bitty gate right here. So the spiders like it. They're already building webs all on it. So I'm going to sit here for a minute and enjoy my gate, my new gate. But anyway, that's the end of the video. I'm sure there's millions of ways to build a gate for your backyard or garden. But this is, you know, kind of the design that I chose years ago when I built the rest of the fence that's over here. So anyway, that's how I did it. I'm sure I left out some details, but just one thing to keep in mind when you're doing something like this, just make sure everything's square, level. One thing to keep in mind also is these boards, no matter what, when I was doing the fence over there and doing this fence, they're not all straight. So sometimes you got to put a screw in and push on it and pull on it, and you know, to try to keep them straight. And if they're a little bit off, it's okay, because trust me, after time, when these things dry out, they're brand new from the store, from Home Depot, right? So whenever they dry out, they will shrink and you'll get some distortion in them and that kind of thing anyway. So doesn't have to be perfect. Get it as close to perfect as you can. But anyway, I know this isn't my normal kind of video. I'm usually doing car stuff. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. I hope it was helpful. Hope it gave you maybe an idea. Now, I won't say I did this with really simple tools. You do, if you want to build a gate like this, you do have to have a welder or have a buddy that has a welder. But other than that, you know, just your basic welding tools. And if you don't have a welder, go buy one. They're awesome. You can use them for all kinds of other stuff. So anyway, please subscribe, like, and share the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.